The Trump campaign is so desperate. They're throwing out the dog whistle and just blowing the racism bullhorn to mobilize their supporters. Last week, the Trump campaign used footage of Joe Biden kneeling at a black church alongside fiery scenes from nighttime clashes following Black Lives Matter protests in Donald Trump's America to make their argument that voters won't be safe in Joe Biden's America. Here's a small part of that ad, which we're not going to show you in its entirety.
You won't be safe in Joe Biden's America.
Leaders of the African Methodist Episcopal Church are condemning the ad as overtly racist and offensive on numerous levels, and they're warning that it could stoke violence against black churches. I'm joined now by Jason Johnson, professor of journalism and politics at Morgan State University, and Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist and senior advisor to the Lincoln Project. And Jason, it feels like the dumbest political move on earth to come for the black church, but they did it. I don't even know where to begin, so I'll just let you talk.
On the scale of black people you don't mess with, there's black women, specifically aunties, and then the black church. They're all kind of in a constellation of things that you probably shouldn't attack if you're a Republican who's trying to be effective. Look, and Trump has been trying for weeks now to say that if Joe Biden's elected president, that America will turn into some combination between, like, the No Church in the Wild video and Saw, and it's not working, right? Like he's losing ground in Wisconsin. It hasn't changed things in Oregon. So I think the Trump campaign, as I've said all along, they're not interested in running a campaign. They're just hoping they can turn out their base and suppress everybody else, because the messaging that they're throwing out against Biden, against Harris, about the state of the country, it's not resonating with people's daily lives who are more concerned about COVID, loss of jobs, and the fact that their kids can't go to school.
Exactly. Let me play a little bit of this. Is a new ad that exclusive to the show tonight. This is a new Biden ad that's out. Let's take a look.
The president caught red-handed lying about coronavirus, publicly saying
children are almost immune,
secretly saying the truth.
This is deadly stuff. It's not just old, plenty of young people.
Millions of jobs lost and 190,000 Americans dead. You took an oath to protect our citizens. Mr. President, these deaths are on your hands. It's time to put America back in the hands of a president who will protect the country and tell us the truth.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
You know, Susan, I'm no Republican strategist, but I can tell you that my guess is that what's concerning white women in the suburbs is COVID, not Black Lives Matter, except to the extent that their kids are marching in Black Lives Matter rallies. So they're probably concerned that white nationalists are going to hurt their kids that are marching in Black Lives Matter rallies. But, you know, white suburban women, it's an anecdotal piece. I'm not sure how much I believe that in the end these folks are going to really vote what they're saying. But there are white women who are now coming forward and saying, I voted for Trump in 2016. I'm not going to vote for him in 2020. And what they're citing, coronavirus. Your thoughts?
Well, they are. And those women in 2016, they didn't like Hillary Clinton. Trump didn't have a record, and they said, I'll give it a shot. But now they're looking at his record, and we have to look at 2018, where we saw women come out in record numbers. What for? Health care. So, yes, of course, the coronavirus is a big deal. What's also a big deal in the suburbs? Education. And meanwhile, parents are trying to worry about how to teach kids remote learning maybe 2-3 days a week. So that's another big issue. And then when it comes to those horrible Trump ads, the biggest mistake they're making when talking to suburban women in those ads, or what they're trying to do, is conflating chaos and law and order with public safety. You don't see public safety in those ads. You don't see someone tampering down the flames. You see someone ratcheting it up. And that's exactly what is turning off the suburban women.
Yeah, and using an AME church to try to make that point is about I mean, listen, if somebody was probably watching Patty and Gladys last night, that's the person you don't want to upset. Because not only will they vote, they will bring like 80 people from their community to vote with them. Let's talk about some of the other things that are on the table here. Money. Joe Biden is actually beating Donald Trump in terms of fundraising, straight out, Jason. But now it looks like he's going to have an extra $100 million in Florida. It looks like Bloomberg is actually coming through. How much does that actually make a difference, do you think?
You know me, Joe. We've had this conversation. I think Florida's kind of red between both the changing politics and the fact that the Republicans have consistently refused to invest money in proper polling and all sorts of shenanigans down there.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, $100 million, that's more than found money in the couch. So if Bloomberg is willing to put that money down there, an organization and vote counting and lawyers, please put the money in lawyers, because that's what's going to be necessary, and election monitors.
That's right.
That could end up making a difference in a state that Trump has to have.
Well, especially, you know, Susan, since what you now have, you know, the RNC had a practice in the past of sending, you know, off-duty cops to black polling places to intimidate people. There was a moratorium on it. A judge has now lifted the restriction. Now they can do it again. We're looking at, and I wonder from your point of view as a Republican strategist, former, when people see that that's what their party is doing, is there a sense of, I don't want to be a part of that? I don't want to be a part of straight-out voter intimidation? Or do people say, this is the price of people who look like me staying in power?
Well, first, I should clarify I'm still a Republican. I just have nothing to do with the current Republican Party led by Donald Trump. I think the thing that kills me every single time when I hear about voter suppression is, if our ideas on the Republican side aren't good enough to win an election, we don't belong in office. We need to represent the people. These tactics, and I'm really happy we're talking about it now, and we will be for the next 50 days, is that resonates again with voters. They say, that is not what I am about. And they don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. It may be a campaign tactic, but I agree with Jason, like, get those people to the polls. And just one thing on the Bloomberg money. Yep. He knows how to micro-target like nobody's business. So that's just not, you know, $100 million being thrown in there. That is a very strategic amount of money that is going to go throughout the state. But yes, I agree that they really need to do something to protect voter sites and the process. Because who's to say that an off-duty cop isn't going to go into a local board of elections and say, I'm here to collect the ballots? They could.
Yeah. Yeah, we shall see. Jason Johnson, Susan Del Percio, thank you guys very much. The ReidOut continues after this.